Hey guys, it's Jay Black, your Monterey Realtor, and today I get to hang out and talk with Kyle. He is a solar consultant for Solar Energy Partners, and he has been in solar for 3 years. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing great, doing great.
Awesome. So he's been in solar for 3 years, but he's been in sales for the last 32. He has a great grasp on solar and all the changes that are coming at us now, and that's why I wanted to have him on here to have this electrifying conversation so that we can all understand what's going on. Um, so we're going to get to those changes here in a minute, but first I wanted to get to know Kyle a little bit better and kind of know why he got started and what brought him in. So Kyle, why don't you give us a rundown? Tell us a little bit about yourself, why you got into solar, and what it is you do for Solar Energy Partners.
Got it. So it's interesting. Sales are interesting, and we've all been sold something and by somebody, whether it's a car or a house or a mattress or an appliance or something. And my philosophy in sales has always been, since I started, I always wanted to sell something that helped other people. My kind of core belief is about if you take care of enough people, you'll be taken care of. So it's never really been about what I was going to get. It was going to be about how their life would change or their business would change. I was in a kind of a crossroads in my life 3+ years ago, and I wasn't even really looking, and I didn't know which direction I was going. And I got a friend called me and said, "Hey, I need you to meet Alex." And I'm like, "Who's this Alex guy?" And he goes, "Well, he owns a solar company. They're growing. They want to expand in your area." And when I heard what Alex was talking about, I thought of you. So had lunch with Alex and his brother Clint, and these two guys have been in solar for about 14 years. They've both been in sales for a long time prior to that. And I liked the people. It wasn't the product, it was the people that I got to work with. So I immediately almost felt like they were brothers just in having lunch with them. And they painted a vision of where they were taking their company, what they were doing, and their core belief was very similar to my core belief: was help enough people and you'll be taken care of. So that's kind of been the path with SEP. I always say SEP picked me. I didn't pick SEP.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And so you, as the consultant, you just kind of you help clients understand what's going on and what it is that what they need and kind of how to move forward, how to navigate that whole system.
Yeah. So as a consultant, I help people understand that they have an option. Most of us, if anyone that's watching this or listening to this does not have solar in their house, they have done the same thing that their parents did and their grandparents did and their great grandparents did, which was get the bill in the mail from the utility company, pay it,
Hmm.
and move on. And with solar, you actually have an option, and a lot of people are so used to doing the same thing that change isn't that they're not looking to change it. My role as a sales consultant with SEP is to help people understand what they use in their household as far as consumption, and then show them what the utility company is truly charging them for it, and then show them how that would relate to solar. And the other thing that a lot of people understand is that solar has changed a lot in the last 4 to 5 years. Historically, you had to go to the bank and get a loan and pay for a solar system and then pay it off over time. And today, what I help people understand is they don't have to go to the bank and do all the other steps. What they get to do is just swap their bill um, from the utility to paying off their own solar panels, and they are owning them. What I teach people is how they can own their system. There's actually a lot of ways you can depreciate a system because you're in business with PG&E, and get the solar tax credit because they're owning the system, they're not renting it.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot of information there that people just don't quite have. That's great to have you as a resource then. And so since you got started and the reason why was to help people and everything else, what has surprised you most since you jumped into this industry?
So what surprised me the most, how many people have looked at solar 6, 8, 10 years ago and just checked the box and not decided to look at it again, thinking it hasn't changed. I think that's the biggest thing, because it has
Okay.
changed. It's like I'm going to carry on a hair longer there. Think about it. You buy a new car today. Is there a night and day difference between the car you're driving today and the one you traded in or sold to get the new car? Yes. And that's
Oh yeah.
exactly what's happened with solar, is that it is night and day different.
And talking about some of these differences, there are some changes in laws and regulations that are coming down as well,
Hmm,
right? So
very much.
yeah, so some of it, like, it's hard to understand as far as what's going on and everything else, right? Like a lot of laws, they just kind of you get so backwashed in jargon that nobody ends up understanding it. So there was this NEM 2.1.0 at one point, and then 2.0, and now we're switching to 3.0. Um, I'm clueless as to what all of that means. I'm
I
guessing
can clear
most
it up
people
easily.
are. So
Yep.
let's, if you wouldn't mind clearing that up, that would be awesome.
So I'm going to keep this super simple because it is simple. We get acronyms going. So NEM stands for net energy metering. When an individual, a homeowner, installs solar on their house, they actually stop being billed on a monthly basis and they're billed on an annual basis. So at the end of the year, are you net plus or net minus of what you made as far as generated and as far as consumption? So typically my role is to make sure that I build a system that's a little bit bigger than what people have historically used. So they have like a spare tire. They got a little extra.
Okay.
Um, so in net metering one is when it rolled out. Net metering one was it's an agreement. So net metering agreement is an agreement that's signed between a homeowner and PG&E, and it's typically a 20-year agreement. So for 20 years, PG&E cannot change that agreement. So in net metering one, it was back from when people first started putting solar on. I know 30 plus years ago there was solar in Santa Cruz. It varies geographically where people first were getting solar in our state. But back when it first rolled out, PG&E would pay you equal money, meaning whatever they were charging that month, year, or wherever we were in the flow, they would, anything you generated extra on an annual basis, they would pay you the same retail, what I'll call a retail rate of what they're selling it for. So right about November of 2016, PG&E rolled out net metering 2, which reduced your ability to build huge systems. They don't want systems built over a certain little bit of extra. And they reduced what they were going to pay for extra generated power down to 4 cents. So if we look back in the net metering one, they were paying about 20 cents to 25 cents for every kilowatt hour. They went from 25 cents to 4 cents. Now that's been going since basically the start of 2017, and it will change on April 14th of 2023. It will absolutely change. The new proposed changes, they're going to take away the 4 cents. And they are also only going to credit homeowners 25% per kilowatt. So basically right now on my roof, for every kilowatt I push to PG&E, I get 1 back. We're even.
Wow.
April 14th, anybody that signs a new agreement after April 12th or 13th, they will have to push 4 kilowatt hours to get 1 back. So they're reducing it. So it's going to change. But it's not going to make solar. It's not going to make solar less attractive if the homeowners are doing the right stuff. Homeowners that are going into net metering 3 will actually want to have a battery installed so that they're pulling from battery power when we have the darker hours of the day instead of pulling from PG&E. So there's going to be a lot of ways to minimize an impact with net metering 3, but minimizing that impact will increase cost because a battery is not cheap. A typical 1 battery for a house is in the $13,500 range per battery. And typically you'll want more than 1 battery depending on the size of your house. So net metering 3 is not new. This system or strategy has been done in a number of municipalities in the state of California for the last 3-4 years. So it's not something I don't speak and not something I don't know how to kind of do a workaround, but it definitely changing the environment and accelerating how many people are trying to get signed into net metering 2 right now.
So how does one go about getting signed in for the net metering 3? Like, how do you make sure you make that deadline? Do you have to have the solar installed and ready to roll by April 13th?
Great question. So basically, if I'm sitting down with a homeowner today and everything looks good and we're moving forward, we sign the agreement, which is the pricing and design. And within 24 hours, we will also have signed the net metering agreement. The solar does not have to be installed. The project has to be moving in
Okay.
some strategy. And there are some loopholes that we're learning about, that we can push that out a little longer. Some people with brand new houses being built today can still get locked into NEM2 because of a couple of different kind of pathways that the Public Utility Commission gave them, because they knew there would be a lot of newer construction and stuff that would fall into a gray area. So there are a couple ways, but basically what we need, or what people need to do, is get their agreement signed and make sure the net metering agreement is signed, and they're going to be good.
Okay. Good deal. Something else that we discussed briefly before we started is that there are differences in systems.
Yep.
Like we were talking about how, cars have changed and everything else. So what are some of these differences in systems that you're referring to?
Got it. There's two kinds of systems in my opinion. There's the original systems that were built, which are what's called a string inverter system. And if you think about a chain, all the panels are linked together in one big chain. And if you have 20 panels on your roof and panel number 10 stops working for some reason, has a malfunction, then every panel past panel number 10 will not work. There's a break in that
Like
chain.
Christmas lights.
Yep, I use that analogy a lot. It's just like the Christmas lights. And with the systems that I will not install a string inverter system.
Okay.
Period. What we're using are microinverters on every panel. So if one panel has a malfunction, every other panel works. And the way that I explain very simply how the microinverter works is, a lot of us drive a newer car that tells us if there's a tire low, it's the same type of monitoring. So and homeowners have direct visibility of their systems, just like many people have a Ring camera or have a doorbell camera, and it tells you when someone's coming up to your house. If there's a system error on my roof, my phone will pop up with an error telling me, hey, something's going on the roof. It's to the minute activity.
Okay.
So those are two differences in systems: string inverter or microinverter. Microinverter is the absolute way to go.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I've got. Can you think of anything else that we need to let everybody know about?
It's simple to look at the numbers. We use energy every day, and the numbers typically don't lie. If you truly analyze what you've paid in the last 12 months for energy from your utility company, and you look at what it would cost you with solar and the other tax benefits and other benefits that I bring to the table, it'll absolutely make sense. Everybody their family deserves the time taken to look at it and see what's possible. It's usually night and day. I can't tell you how many people I'm sitting with and I'm showing them the numbers, and one of them will look at me and say, well, this is an absolute no-brainer. And it's just because people haven't looked at it. We are so busy in our life today doing all the other things, and we have alerts and pop-ups and everyone's calling. This is a long-term, we're going to use energy every day. It's just like oxygen. So and if you can lock your rate, what solar will do is it will lock your rate of what you're paying for energy today, and it'll never increase. And I don't know about you, but if I could have locked in the rate of gasoline for $2 a gallon, and that was what I paid for the rest of my life, I'd be really happy. But that's what I bring to the table with people with energy, is you can lock your rate. You're going to pay much less than PG&E's charging you today, and it's never going to go up. I'm happy to help anyone, and if I can't help them, I will point them to someone that can. That's what I always believe.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Kyle. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Guys, be sure to check him out. I'm going to include all of his contact information down in the video description below. Reach out, like he's saying, it takes a few minutes. Find out what's going on, what it's going to cost you. See if it's a decision that you should make. It's having information is never a bad idea. So give him a call, figure it out, and thanks a lot for your time, Kyle. I really appreciate it.